Hey, I'm Rutledge. And Connor's still giving me the silent treatment. So you're just gonna have me here tonight, everyone. Hope you're coming out. It's Tuesday night. It's 8 o'clock. It's Friend Stream Sports, Rutledge's first solo show. So pretty excited about tonight. But remember, later in the show, there's gonna be a special guest. So tonight's game is gonna be we're gonna play some NBA 2K20. We're gonna play the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Atlanta Hawks, and kind of putting it on my life in basketball. Um, we're gonna see how this goes because this Atlanta team looks a lot better than this Memphis team. We're gonna dial it in, but I went in and picked Memphis's throwback uniforms for Vancouver. I'm gonna skip this. I can't wait to skip 2K TV. That's okay. We're fine. All right, so here we are jumping in. We're going to take on Trae Young with a 91 rating, the young one that it is. We're going to talk some NBA a little bit later in the show, but we are going to go jump in. Someone's going to guard Trae Young, Otto, anyways. To our podcast listeners out there, thanks for coming out. But we're out here. Look at that, downtown Memphis. I've actually been to Memphis. I haven't been to Graceland, but I've been to Memphis. It was a good time. So warming. They got the Grizzlies court. Look at it. Well, his coach. They're wearing the shorts, the teal shorts. So those of you who don't know, the Vancouver Grizzlies originally started as an expansion team for the NBA in Vancouver, Canada, at the same time as the Toronto Raptors. Vancouver did not have as strong of management, was not as good, did not do well, and got a new owner who said, "I'm going to keep it in Vancouver," and then moved it. There's a really good sports documentary online about it. Um, but it broke my heart as a kid because I actually used to get to go to a lot of Grizzlies games, and I was a very big supporter of the team, even though we were a mediocre NBA team. I always remember going in the mid '90s to watch Michael Jordan and the Bulls play the Grizzlies, and my dad and I had a bet that night, and like I would get a video game if the Grizzlies if the Grizzlies lost by so many points. And did they ever? And Jay Morant is going to get some. We're going to air this up. We're going to lay it in. All right, so we're going to talk about the first thing on everyone's mind in the sports world, and that, of course, is March Madness. What a tournament. You know, there's been some upsets. Of course, no one saw Abilene Christian coming out the way they did. No one saw Oral Roberts University being with contention for going to the Elite Eight, hanging out in the Sweet 16. We all say we didn't see that coming, and were so blown away. But isn't that at the end of the day, that's what makes March Madness March Madness? No, someone get Trae Young on the lane. That's what makes March Madness March Madness. That's what makes the tournament the tournament. That's where we sort of fall in love with it. That's where the stress of your bracket is sitting there and going, well, I didn't pay as much attention as I should have this year, but let's give this a shot. Rolled the wrong way. Let's try this for this time. And the foul. Um, Capella's getting the foul because of the charge. So you sit there and you say, "Oh my God, this is March Madness. This is what it's going to happen. This is how amazing it is. Can you believe it? Can you believe that it happened? I'm so blown away." But this doesn't happen in a lot of other in college football. It does happen in other sports like college basketball, college baseball. Shout out to Justin Graves watching, talking about playing as the Grizzlies in NBA Jam in the 90s. Those were good times. I remember you couldn't be Michael Jordan when you played NBA Jam, and you could, in the arcade version, you could do like a secret code to switch Dennis Rodman's hair color to whatever color you wanted. But March Madness, you know, March Madness is the way that it is because of the just sort of the parity that is basketball and sort of level playing field that that court can be. Football, yes, of course, we talk about UCF and their self-proclaimed national championship, and they beat Auburn. But now, of course, Auburn has fired Gus Malzahn. So in the long term, how much of a power win was that, or was it an overrated win to an Auburn team that was just okay? Um, so it's the love of the tournament. I like when the March Madness blows up. Of course, it frustrates me because then my bracket will blow up. And blows in half. But that's the way that it goes, and that's the beauty of it. However, there's some sort of looming questions that I want to kind of go over tonight and talk about what I think after reading some articles and looking at some stuff and what I think is going to come into the Sweet 16. The first one for me that sort of stands out there is how real is Alabama? When we say Alabama Crimson Tide, we all day long talk all the time football. Nick Saban, Bear Bryant, recruits, Devontae Smith winning the Heisman. Just an absolute power, a monster of a program, a absolute extreme school that's just amazing at what they do, recruits time after time. If you don't remember in 2007, when Nick Saban was announced coming to Alabama, 94,000 people went to the spring game. It's a huge fan base. And now they're a basketball team that is in the Sweet 16, won the SEC, drains threes. How good, not draining threes on my end, but how good truly is Alabama? Are they going to make it? Now they're getting into some real basketball competition. Yes, that was a nice play. Yes, I'm getting schooled here as I'm losing to Computer Atlanta. Um, do the threes hold out? Does the tide cool off? How real are they? That's the one thing about the tournament that always kind of blows your mind is some teams will get exposed very quickly and will show who's really good. Just like with the upsets, to go back to that, every upset should be kind of like how, on paper, and mostly how it is in college football, games should be exactly what you saw happen with Houston and Cleveland State. You had Houston beat Cleveland State 87-56. That should be happening more often, but it doesn't. So we're going to see what does Alabama do. The other one I want to see, and the big question mark I have, of course, in this round, and Connor and I have this game on our coin flip brackets, is Michigan versus Florida State. Florida State this year has done well in the ACC. Had a really good showing, led the ACC in points, some other columns, was great defensively, hands up, but wide open three. Yes, please, timeout. We need to do defensive adjustments. So, Florida State played against Michigan. Florida State's getting ready to play against Michigan. Florida State is known to have a great defense. Michigan has been a big favorite in the Big Ten this year. Big deal team. What are they going to do? How's the game going to lay out? Does Florida State have it to beat Michigan? You say, well, Rutledge, they looked really good in the ACC. The ACC this year has been very down. North Carolina got eliminated soon out of the tournament. Duke didn't even make it into the tournament. And as far as it goes, nothing really huge happening there. So is Florida State looking good in a conference that was bad? Or are they a real deal team? Another question we have going into the Sweet 16, along with Florida State, along with Alabama, is Loyola Chicago and the Fighting Sister Jeans. We all remember a couple years back, Loyola Chicago made a Final Four run. That was huge for them. Big Final Four run, team that came out, smaller school, the power of the tournament, Cinderella story, and now they're back. Now they're back in the Sweet 16 again. Are we watching the next small school breed come up and work? The same thing that we had when we saw Wichita State rise for a while, the same thing that we had when Florida Gulf Coast was good for a couple years, even though they had a coaching change. The same thing about how Gonzaga is consistently a basketball power. Not all big name schools are big names on the basketball court. So is Loyola Chicago solidifying themselves that they've found the right players and the right pieces to be more? And are they going to be a bigger deal team? Are they going to be the next big thing? Will they be in the tournament year after year, or is it just a couple good recruiting classes and that's sort of the direction they're going? COVID-19 has showed us, especially in the basketball world, that the way that the sport has changed is college basketball players, especially in programs with a lot of high pressure or strength of schedule, need to have routine. And living outside of that routine doesn't really sort of work, which is why your powers are down. And that the sort of adaptability through hard times is what helped people be successful. Give the example of Florida State and Alabama. being successful. Loyola Chicago, we could call that starting to become consistent. Gonzaga, that's consistent. Villanova, that's consistent. Syracuse, that's consistent. Um, but it shows you in the March Madness tournament, the large point I'm trying to make is who is consistent? Is Alabama consistent, or are they just having a one and done year? Is Florida State consistent, or are they just having a one and done year? Is Loyola Chicago becoming consistent where they're putting the money and the power behind it? The team that I believe right now is we're in the last 38 seconds that is holding it down, is consistent, is I am taking my money and the tournament that I selected in my personal bracket, is I am picking the Baylor Bears. So Baylor had to go on a halt because of COVID protocols and had to stop playing games for a while, but then it took them a little bit of time to jump back in. And Baylor then, when they jumped back in, started to get some consistency to them and has shown it in their schedule in the tournament. They are handling players, just like they're handling teams that they encountered. I have Baylor picked to go all the way. We'll definitely see how they do in their Final Four, in their Sweet 16 game as they push their way to the Elite Eight. But college basketball has shown us we can't let them drive the lane again. College basketball has shown us that it's all about the complete team package. So it's going to be the complete team. I still hold that Baylor's a complete team. I still say, from what I said in an earlier show that Connor and I did, if you listen back, that Oregon, I think, is going to struggle this weekend against USC. And with my special guest later, we will pick some games. But Oregon's going to struggle. As you get ready to watch Sweet 16 this weekend, the games that I think are going to be the hot ones to watch are Michigan and Florida State, as well as Creighton and Gonzaga. Gonzaga, of course, was undefeated all year. The Creighton Blue Jays out of Omaha, Nebraska, if you didn't know where they were from, are coming into play. So those two games are going to be this weekend as we go on and push to the Elite Eight, as we go through what feels like a very quick March Madness. But that's the end of my first quarter, chatting up and talking about some March Madness basketball. A lot of question marks. Who's real? Who's not? We have, what's up, Vince Carter? Now you work for ESPN. I remember when in high school all we could talk about was how selfish you were on the Raptors. I digress. It's Friends Stream Sports. We throw a little side talk in there, get a little distracted. Come back in. You have Grizzlies versus Hawks. The story of Rutledge, who lived in Vancouver and moved to Georgia and still wishes the Vancouver Grizzlies were real. But, and the foul. Shooting foul. But we play as them in the throwback unis and hope for the best.